Mom and Dad, are you ready?
Today's word is stupendous.
You need some encouragement.
Stupendous marriage encouragement.
You need some inspiration.
Is that really a question or is that a statement? Are you asking me to do something or are you just telling me to? Are you just forming it in the phrase of a question?
I do that way too much.
You're listening to The Stupendous Marriage Show.
With our friends Stu and Lisa Gray.
Elmer loves that word. Stupendous.
The Stupendous Marriage Show.
Hey there, it's Stupendous Marriage Show. I'm Stu Gray.
Hey, I'm Lisa Gray.
How you doing? How's your life? How's things going in your world?
Well, I just tried to read an email when we were recording, and I quickly figured out that there's a reason you read our emails, honey.
Yes, this is take 2 of the Stupendous Marriage Show, episode 161.
Well, that is what you do for a living. In my defense, that is not what I do for a living.
That is true.
So I was like, I can read this email. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, not so much.
I am a hyphenated worker. Books and the voiceover and the marriage ministry and dad. And it's kind of like multiple things that I do.
Yes. Do you remember years ago when you tried to do a business card? And you were going to do one with
what do I pick? Which one do
yeah,
I
do you
put
remember
on
that?
here?
Well, you said you were going to do like 3 different things on there. And I was like, that's crazy.
It
But
is.
yeah, that would be the case. But over the weekend, we got a really great email from a listener regarding the last episode. And I wanted to talk about it, but I'm going to make you read it. So will you read it for me, please?
Thanks. Okay. Listen to the show today about a woman who felt guilty after sex with her husband. I've listened to many different Christian podcasts, read many Christian books about sex. I wanted to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard as biblical and balanced testimony about the steps that you walk through to repent of your premarital sex with others and each other. You covered a lot of scripture, plus introduced the whole breaking soul ties in a non-threatening way. You were very vulnerable about your own journey in this area. Wanted to let you know how much I appreciated that and admired your approach. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you so much for that email. That's super humbling.
I loved seeing that email. In fact, I think I saw it before you, and I was like, hey, did you see the email? Did you see the email? Because that was something, you are so gifted, babe, at understanding scripture and really being able to apply it. And last week, we don't ever talk about what we're going to talk about on the show. And so last week, when you were so excited about that email, because you obviously have walked through that stuff and also just really thought it through, and it was just so cool to hear that it really was impactful for somebody and really connected with them and meant a lot to them that they would, took the time to email. And so I really just was wanting to recognize you and you walking in your gifts and how the Lord has gifted you in that. And in fact, I know after the show last week, you put together a resource. I think we're going to send that out this Saturday, right? And with the Saturday emails?
Yeah, actually, I was inspired to put a little one sheet together if that would be helpful for you as a listener of the show and something that you've been working together as a couple. A lot of people do feel guilty about sex in lots of different levels. And a lot of times that comes out as feeling guilty about sex with your spouse. So this process that we've worked through, I've thought about and heard taught in other different contexts, we'd just like to pass it on to you. And the best way to do that is actually to subscribe to our email list. And I'm going to include it with our Saturday Reads email that I do send out every Saturday morning.
I love that because I know we have a lot of listeners who may not even know that that exists, that you send out an email. On top of doing the show every week, you send out an email on Saturday mornings just to really give people some information, inspiration to read over and chew on over the weekend. And so if you are not signed up for that email yet, you can go to stupendousmarriage.com/subscribe, and you can actually subscribe to that weekly email that can just give you a little something extra. And a lot of it is just resources. A lot of it is just something that you may have been thinking about, but then also just links to some interesting articles that you've read. And so this week, this Saturday, when we send that out, we will attach that resource for you guys. So if you are working through that, then go sign up.
Again, stupendousmarriage.com/subscribe. To send us an email, if you've got something you want to talk about in your marriage, click the big blue button at stupendousmarriage.com or on air at stupendousmarriage.com is the direct email. So here's email for today. My husband and I are in our mid to late 20s. We've only been married 7 months. I'm starting to wonder if he is becoming too dependent on me. One of the reasons I was attracted to him when we started dating was because he was a very independent person. I respected that about him. Since we've been married, it's been bothering me when he asks me to do things for him he could easily do for himself. Most of the time, they're just little things, but it's beginning to grate on me. Examples are like not getting something from the kitchen, finding lost objects, looking up information on the internet, running errands, solving problems. Normal adult stuff that we all have to do. I'm very giving by nature, and I do take good care of him, but I also try to treat him with respect and to not mother him. I want him to be an independent adult, not a husband who is dependent on his wife to function as an adult. Is this a normal newlywed problem? Could I be overreacting? Or is he expecting too much mothering from me?
I remember 7 months, babe. Do you remember being married? Maybe not exactly 7 months.
I'm looking back into my mental Rolodex. No, I don't remember 7 months.
That was 14 years and 3 months ago, darling.
It was wonderful. It was amazing. It was the best year of my
Actually,
life.
I even said that wrong. It was 5 months ago. Yeah, it was 14 years and 5 months ago. Marriage is by far one of the most interesting relationships I think you can be in. And the first year is the most exciting, aggravating, happy, sad, because, you're really getting used to each other in a completely new role. I don't know how she didn't reference how long they had dated prior to that, but it's okay. It's okay that he's getting on your nerves a little bit. The things that you probably thought, even though she didn't even mention, that were endearing, start to rub you the wrong way at times. And that's very, very normal. This season of getting to know each other and to learn more about each other, especially the first year or two of marriage, is so common. And I don't think that there's a huge issue she needs to worry about. Just take a breath. Just realize that it's okay that you're not being crazy motherly. He's not being crazy independent. Yes, you probably need to establish some boundaries, like make sure and put the toilet lid down on the toilet. Those things, but those can get so aggravating in any relationship, but especially when you are supposed to be, especially our society says it's supposed to be so wonderful and magical and you're happily ever after. Well, it's not that when you are now around each other all the time and aggravating each other at times.
Absolutely. When you become attracted to someone and you start having these chemical reactions in your brain and your body, literally the juices start flowing. And that's why it's called Love Potion Number 9, that old song. It really is this concoction of things that are going on in your brain. And that only lasts a season of time. It lasts long enough for you to fall in love, have all the great feelings, to think they're wonderful, ignore all their bad stuff, and go, hey, you want to spend the rest of your life together? And by the time you're into your marriage, or at least that's kind of how it works, the length of time is different for people. And obviously with longer dating, that probably wears off earlier in the relationship than marriage actually. People are taking longer to get married in our culture.
Right.
But those feelings of ooey gooey love do wear off. And then you start to realize the things that your spouse haven't done or don't do well. Those things that were endearing in the start and they're aggravating now. And that's okay. It's working through that and figuring out that they are who you married and you're not going to be able to change them. But on the other side of that, household management is a thing, and you got to figure out who's going to do what and how that works. And I'm not great at it. I mean, those are conversations that we have all the time. Oh, dishes need to be done. Oh, yeah. You're right. Again, it doesn't just happen once and then they automatically take care of themselves every time after that. Oh, yeah. So trash, that needs to go out. And that, thankfully I have a 13-year-old who can help us with all of that. But it's not been my priority. And the crazy thing is, in your marriage, you will realize that some things get on your nerves right away and some things take a little while longer for your spouse. Or maybe it's opposite that. They get really upset right away about certain things, but it takes you longer to come around and get upset about those things. And it's navigating that dance and being okay with being different, but giving them grace when they're upset by something or you're upset by something, and then working through it and figuring out how to navigate those waters together.
You are 7 months in to be married, and it is a great opportunity to go, hey, this might be our first kind of bump in the road, our first, how do we adjust to this? How do we navigate through this and figure out how to be better roommates together? Because you are that now. You know, your roommates, your friends, obviously your husband and wife. There's so many different roles that maybe you haven't been before.
Lovers.
Lovers, yes. Hopefully that's going well. But, you know, the thing is years ago, I noticed something about you, Stu. You are...
How attractive and wonderfully loving I am?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, that was not what I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
Your dad has very much a servant heart. Like, he just serves people. Your mom sits there. Anybody can ask him to go do something, and he will actually step up and volunteer to do things like very quickly, not wait to be asked. And you get that a lot. I can ask you to go to the store 4 times in a day, which I do some days, and you will go. It doesn't take a lot of your energy to do it. Like, it's just you naturally walk in that. You naturally walk in that serving people and wanting to help people, and especially help our family and help us navigate through whatever we need to get through that day. And that is one of my love languages. And so it works really well for us. You know, the 5 love languages, one of them is service. And
oh, I thought it was telling me what to do. I thought you were saying that was like your love language. Sorry.
Oh, honey, that's so bad. That is so bad. Not telling, asking.
Oh, sorry.
In a way that's telling. But
is that really a question, or is that a statement? Are you asking me to do something, or are you just telling me to? Are you just forming it in the phrase of a question?
I do that way too much. You know, that would be interesting to maybe find out from your husband. Like, you guys, if you haven't read the 5 Love Languages book, I would definitely recommend reading that and figuring out, and I would recommend that for anybody who's a newlywed, you know, figure out how you can love each other well. It's not that if Stu didn't serve me that he wouldn't love me well. I just wouldn't be receiving it as well as I could, because he's not talking a language that I necessarily understand or relate to or connect to. And so I would really think about that, because it may be that your husband really has, and he may not even realize that one of his love languages is service, that he really loves for somebody to just take some stuff off of his plate. And if you knew that about him and you knew that was one of his love languages, I think maybe then you would approach it with a different attitude and be more like, hey, I'm not mothering him, but I'm actually loving him where he is and helping him in a way that he needs to be helped in this moment.
All right, so as a review, the 5 love languages are quality time, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation. If you've not read that book, like Lisa said, that is a great one to start with, to really think about how to love your spouse well, but you also begin to realize how you like to be loved. So in those conversations that you're going to be having, you can express how you like to be loved as well, because perhaps he is just taking advantage of the fact that you will serve him in this season, but he hasn't inquired of you how you like to be loved.
And that may or may not be the case. It may not even be intentional, something that he's intentionally doing. But understanding each other and starting to unpack, you know, also thinking about childhood and how he was with his mom, how you were with your dad, the relationships that you've seen previously. I mean, I think a lot of people bring into their marriage the relationships that they saw, the marriages that they saw growing up, and kind of expect them on an unconscious level to be like that. And they're not, because you're different than those people, but just kind of really thinking about that and working through that. But don't worry, I think you guys are going to be great, and it's okay. And you asked the question if this is very common. It is common, because you're just getting started.
Stay with it, work through this, and keep going. We had a really cool interaction the other day, and it was unintentional. We're wandering through a thrift store in our area, and Lisa was cornered by this older gentleman. Not really cornered. She was walking around, and he kind of like I don't know, it was like a mosquito to a light bulb
Yeah.
to you. Just very interesting.
There was something, I think I was singing, pretending to sing on a microphone or something, and he proceeds to just go, oh, you have a lovely voice, which I really don't, which was funny, and then tells me that him and his wife are on their choir at church, and they do all this stuff and go all these places, and then next thing I know, he goes and gets his wife and brings her back over, and as soon as we start talking to them, I knew there was something special about them and about this meeting that we'd had, and so I just said, hey, would you mind if we record you for just a second? We do this marriage podcast, and they've been married for almost 60 years. It just really intrigued me to hear from them and what they know about marriage and thinking about marriage. We hope it blesses you, especially being newlyweds.
So here's that quick conversation.
My name is Matt Sharina. I'm 88 years old. I'm a cancer survivor, 12 years now, stomach cancer. I give God all the glory. And anyway, we sing in a choir. We were married 59 years.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And so what would be your one piece of advice for people that are just getting started or people that maybe like us, they've been in it for a little bit, but not quite as long as you guys?
Well, that's what I would do. Forgive. Okay?
Now, do you agree? Do you have it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And don't go to bed angry. Make up before you go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
So good to meet you.
Well, we're excited for you guys for 60 years next year.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
I'm 88. I won't tell you her age.
That's probably good.
She's 2 years younger.
He's not telling.
well, you both look amazing. So
It's not us. It's the Lord.
thanks again for your email. If you want to send one on air at stupendousmarriage.com or the big blue button on the website, stupendousmarriage.com.
We'll talk to you later.
See ya. Yeah.
Like the show? Like the show.
Yeehaw.
Share the podcast. Tell another couple.
Hold on. Hold up.
Yeehaw. Blah, 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 blah.
I wanted to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard as unbiblical. I can't say it. All right. Let's start over. Woo! You can go to spend.
Could I be overreacting? Or is he expecting too much? Bleh.
That was one of his love languages. How he was with his mom. How you were. Okay, let's start over. Yeah.
Like the show? Like the show. Share the podcast. Tell your married friends.
Yeah.